Hello everyone, it's Carrie, and in today's video I'm doing the second in my 2019 release of Tattered Fairies. And I'm using an Ever After High Justine Dancer doll to make an Disney Princess Tiana from Princess and the Frog. I hope you guys don't mind a bit of a longer video because I thought that I'd show a few things here and there in real time so you can see a little bit more detail. In this video I'll be doing a bit of the construction of the costume and the face up. And the hairstyle is the same that I did on my Tattered Fairy Sally doll, so if you would like to see how that hairstyle is done, check out my Tattered Fairies Sally video part 2, and we'll put that in an iCard. So here I'm doing some strips of cotton fabric and laying out a plan of how I want to collage different kinds of fabrics. Here's some of the textiles that I used on the base of the skirt. I just used different kinds of ribbons and things that I've collected along my travels and just have in my collection. So I added some beads and buttons and just little bits to add some interest to the skirt. So I sew on, or in combination with some fabric glue, add these little embellishments and sew them to the skirt, and then add a little ring for the fabric bead. Each of the Tattered Fairies comes with one of these fabric beads. And this particular piece has some Swarovski crystals that I picked up in a haul at a vintage store along our travels. If you'd like to see that haul video, we'll put that in an iCard. And then I made these wings with some gold wire and some wired around some buttons and a magnet, and then I also added some of those Swarovski crystals to a flower embellishment on the wing. And they snap in the back. The skirt snaps in the back. And there's a little close-up of the fabric button and some of the ribbons and fabrics that I used in the skirt. I just love the colors of yellow and green together. It's always been one of my favorite color combinations, so I was inspired to do this also because I like the movie and the character, and we were recently in New Orleans, so it inspired me to work on a Princess Tiana. And here's a simple corset that I made and reinforced it with some wire, reinforced a piece with some wire so I could sort of snap on those wings with a magnet. So there's just a better look at the costume. And then I'll get started on the face up. So I'm all set with my setup to use some pan pastels. I always make a nice tea or fun drink when I get started on my customizing. And here is my drawer of watercolor pencils, and I'm gathering my most important pencils. And then I keep them close by because I always change my mind of the colors that I'm going to use. So for this one I decided to pull out my Prismacolor Watercolors. I rarely use these. They're just haven't been my favorite, but I decided to try out the dark brown and black because my Faber Castels that are my favorite for doing really fine lines, they are down to nothing and I'm not able to sharpen them anymore. I used every little bit of them using a pencil extender. So I haven't been anywhere where I can, like I said, we're traveling, and I haven't been anywhere where I can purchase that particular pencil. I've been to a couple of art stores and haven't found any. So I thought that I would pull out these Prismacolors and see if they were a harder lead than the Derwent, and then maybe I'd be able to do some finer lines with them. But the black was very good, and I used it quite a bit, and I'll use it much more often, I think. The brown was good as well, but it wasn't as hard of lead that I needed. So I still need to find one of those darker brown Faber Castell Aqua Grip pencils. So once we get home, I'll probably just order them online. But the link to the supplies that I'm using are in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing any of these products. So I covered her with, or coated her with 4 coats of Mr. Super Clear before beginning. And now I'm shaping the eyes. So like I said, I did use that black pencil quite a bit for the Prismacolor one. I was very surprised that I had it for so long and hadn't used it, but I really did enjoy it. I've been told that the Prismacolor pencils tend to change color after you seal them, and I've experienced that with a lot of other pencils as well, but I figured I was pretty safe with brown and black, and I was. Oh, you guys, I wanted to tell you, I picked up this pencil sharpener combination by Crayola at a Dollar Tree in the area. We're in Georgia right now. We're in Macon, Georgia. And there was a Dollar Tree that had a bunch of Crayola stuff, and I'm a huge fan of Crayola, and I was just going nuts with all of the products that they had at a Dollar Tree and that I didn't see at any other Dollar Trees that I've been to, and they had these pencil sharpeners, so I grabbed them, and you guys, I really like them. You know, usually I pay like $3 or $6 to $6 or even more for a pencil sharpener, and these worked just as well, so I'm really enjoying them. They may not stay as sharp as others. They may get dull faster, but for now they're working really well. So hit your Dollar Tree up for those Crayola sharpeners. They're really great for watercolor pencils. So here I'm making a mix. I didn't have a skin tone that was dark enough to do the contouring, so I'm custom mixing some of this terracotta and some of this brown tone, and trying to get a darkness that will enable me to do some contouring. So I just have this little paper cup, and I'm mixing and then testing it out on my hand. And it is making some beautiful colors, but it's not quite the darkness that I need, so I'm going back in with some black to just darken it up a little bit more. And I just think that the only problem that I have with pan pastels is that the color range isn't where I want it to be. And it actually maybe it's been a while since I've shopped for pan pastels, so they may have improved their selection, but for now, for what I've purchased, I don't have the colors that I need for skin tones in general. It has just a few peaches and a couple of browns, so I definitely would like to see a wider range on pan pastels, but otherwise I really, really love the product. And I do have Rembrandt and Schminke and Sennelier, I think that's how you say it. I have a number of other high quality pastels that I pull out every once in a while when I need some of the color range, but my go-to is the pan pastel. So here I'm doing a very, I'm using the peach to do some highlights. And I'm using some colorless blender to blend that out. And it seems super light as it goes on, but once it's sealed and after it's blended and then sealed, it does look like a good highlight. But the contrast is pretty stark there, but it does blend out and look much better. So I'm just doing highlights all over, and then I'll start the contouring. And I'm starting with contouring in the eyelid and around the nose and the philtrum and under the bottom lip. and it kind of gets muddied up, kind of like the eyes that I used to do. The way that I used to do eyes is I would start adding the color before I did a base of white, and it always would like muddy up and not give me the color vibrancy that I wanted. So since that seems to be happening with the lips here, what I'm doing is I'm just going to put a very light coat, and just kind of a base coat of a very light pink or white, and then seal it so then I can put the color on top of it, and that tended to work a lot better. So you can see I'm just going over what I have there, and it looks kind of crazy right now, but I just went over everything in the shape that I wanted the lips to be in white, and then I sealed it, and then I was able to layer the color on top of it. I was really enjoying working with this particular face mold. I like the different Ever After High molds than the original dolls. They had, like with Apple White and Raven Queen, and the original dolls, they had the face sculpt was all the same, and I used that very frequently with the dolls. But the later dolls, like Michelle Mermaid and this Justine Dancer doll, they have a much their face is different, and it's like softer features and a little less flat and round. It has a little bit more character to it, and I really enjoy working with them. So you see at this point I've sealed her, and now I'm going back in with some color, and you can see it's kind of, to me, it's laying it out a little bit nicer, and you can see the color pop a little bit better. Sometimes that vinyl just kind of soaks up the color, so you need like a base of white to blend on top of. So I was searching through my reds to determine what color pencil that I wanted to use on the lips. I ended up using this Madder Carmine, and it's a color that I had in my collection and I hadn't used before, and mainly because the color on the bottom part of the pencil isn't the color of the lead, and that happens a lot, and sometimes I really need to look at the lead rather than the bottom piece, because I always thought that this was a brighter red, but it actually may be the darkest red that I have. So I was really excited to start using it. It's going to be one of my favorites. And so I use that for the upper lip and some of the shading on the bottom lip. In there I'm trying that Prismacolor brown to do some of the waterline detail, and it is a little bit thicker than I like, so I have to really be careful about my how heavy-handed I am in those areas. And I use this Prismacolor brown and black through a lot of this face up. I was really enjoying the black pencil, surprisingly. So now I'm going back with this kind of vanilla colored Derwent watercolor pencil to do some highlights, and blending those out with a Q-tip. So I felt like at this point, after a couple of coats of sealant, that I had lost my highlight, so I went back and did a little bit more. And you see that blending away very quickly because a lot of that is the colorless blender and not actual color. So adding some blush. And then here I've sealed her at this point again so I can start the eyebrows. And I'm shaping them with my Faber Castell sharpenable pencil or eraser. And just working on getting them both the same shape and size. So both this doll and the previous Snow White Tattered Fairy that I completed, along with at least one other Tattered Fairy, will be on sale on Saturday, January 12th. And you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook to be notified when they're listed. Or for super VIP early access and coupons and sale information, early notifications, and when my commissions are open, shoot me an email to skeriosities@gmail.com. It's in the description box below, and let me know that you'd like to be added to my email list. So you can just shoot me that email. Let me know you'd like to be on the email list, and I'll add you, and you'll receive those notifications. Or if you'd like even more perks, check me out on Patreon, and the link to these are all in the description box below. So I'm using the pearlescent pan pastel just to add a little bit. I didn't want to give her some eyeshadow, like a lot of like obvious eyeshadow, but I did want to give her a little bit of sparkle. So I just added a little bit of the green and yellow above her on her eyelid to give a little bit of green and yellow sparkle. So at this point I decided to give her a side glance. And I usually wait until I always wait pretty much until the entire face is done before I go in and do the eyes, because I always just look at the face and then determine how do I want her to be looking. Do I want her to look to the right, left, straight? At that point the character has come to life enough that I can determine how I want those to look. So that's kind of why I leave that to the last bit. So I just felt she'd look cute looking off to the side. So she has brown eyes, so I'm using a couple of different browns. I'm using like a burnt sienna and the brown Prismacolor that I was using before for an outline, and blending those out with some lighter colors. I decided to do her pupil as a lighter brown as well, sort of a golden brown, and then the outside is more of like a terracotta brown. So for the eyes, I'm pulling out these Derwent watercolor or water soluble metallics. These are some of my favorite pencils to use. And I'm using the copper and gold and just all of the brown shades for that. I bought a while back, I bought a 12 pack and I just love them. And so here I'm just trying to give a little bit of a close-up so you can see that color pop that they give. They're kind of weird when it comes to blending. If you try to blend too hard, it kind of starts peeling up, but they are pretty creamy, and you just have to kind of get used to them. But at this point I have a lot of work on shaping the pupil and everything, but I just kind of wanted to go in and see when it was still light. You can see how that adds that shiny, I don't know if it's picking up that kind of coppery metallic color, but it really adds to the eyes when I'm doing browns. One thing I will say about the metallics is I recently used a purple. It comes with some green and purple and pink, some other colors, and I used the purple to do a signature. I always sign the back of the doll and date them, and I did my signature, and then I sprayed it with Mr. Super Clear, and the purple turned a completely shocking hot pink, like a fuchsia, bright pink. And that's not the color that I intended. So if you are trying to do like a lavender eye or lips or whatever and use that purple metallic, it's going to change the color. So just a heads up there. You may want to have, I like to have a test doll where I'll do some testing of the colors before and after I spray them, so I can make sure that I'm not, you know, changing the color. Because if I was doing a lavender eye and trying to make an overall lavender looking doll and then sprayed it and it's a hot pink, it would ruin the entire look. So it's good to know what your colors are before you actually use them. So I was just very surprised at the difference, and I should show you that on camera, but if I have a chance I'll do a test and show you guys. But I was very shocked at the difference that from what I thought it would turn out to be and what it actually did. So using that black Prismacolor for the eyelashes, and I was really happy with how it looked. I had to be very light-handed because I don't like my eyelashes to be too heavy, too thick. So I was using a very light hand, but it maintained its sharpness pretty well, better than Derwent. And so I was happy with the results there. I'm still going to go back to my Faber Castell Aquarelle though as soon as I can purchase those. That just is a really nice hard lead for fine lines. So I'm almost done here, so I'll let you guys watch the rest of that, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys are having an absolutely fabulous new year. Stay tuned for some more Tattered Fairies and also some other fun stuff coming up for my Mad Monster Party 2019 line. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.